Yeah, I've started recording.
So, a very good evening to one and all. Welcome to the second session of the Data Science Community India chapter. Today we have with us Mr. Ariful Mondal, who we will be interviewing soon. Your hosts for the evening are myself, Natasha. I'm currently pursuing my master's in statistics from NMIMS. Then we have Sanjuti. Sanjuti, over to you.
Yes, I'm Shinjuti Biswas, graduated in economics and currently pursuing MBA in data science and data analytics from Symbiosis. So we are managing this data science community with Prakash sir, who is masters in maths and computing from IIT Guwahati and a graduate in maths honors. He had served IIM Calcutta as a teaching and research associates and presently working with India's leading credit bureau, TransUnion Civil. So he's keen to develop the community and mentor young professionals in their data science journey.
We also have with us Guru Sir. Guru Sir is a physician with an MD in pharmacology and a doctorate in clinical pharmacology from AIIMS New Delhi. He is currently working as a senior data scientist at Novartis, Hyderabad. His interests include machine learning and knowledge representation and reasoning in the field of drug discovery. So before we move on towards the interview, let me tell you a little about the Data Science India community. The data science community started off as a lot of WhatsApp groups emerging in many cities with people of very diverse backgrounds: students, freshers, experienced professionals, data science aspirants, etc. These groups are used to share articles, doubts, resources, anything and everything possible for anybody to learn about data science. Over to you, Sanjuti.
The best part of the 20 groups with more than 150 members is that there is no spamming at all. It's all about learning and helping each other in this field. So now let's start our interview. Over to you, Prakash sir.
Yeah, thanks both of you, Sanjiti and Natasha. Good that you have joined us and you are working with us very closely. And I hope I am audible. If anyone can acknowledge me, am I audible well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So before we will start our session like the way last time we had a session with Jenny Mitra, and there we had a surprise at the very beginning. So there Kunal Jain has come, who is the founder of Analytics Vidya. So likewise, I have invited Ujjaini today. If she can talk a bit about her views of the same, and about the last time's 1 hour of discussion. If he can quickly summarize so that those who have missed those part, they can go back and they can check those recordings. So over to you, Ujjaini.
Thank you, Prakash. I think the first one was pretty good, and I'm so happy that you are continuing the process with Ariful now. I'm so happy to see the people together on Sunday, and they're doing it. Quickly, just to recap, one thing I always try to suggest everyone is. Today is the day of AutoML, and if you check, everyone is talking about automation, anything that is science that is going to get automated. And on the other hand, when I see most of the budding data scientists, that they talk about, they only want to work on the modeling section and not really understanding the data and the business domain. Whereas if all the scientific sections are going to get automated or mostly automated over next few years of time, if unless and until the data scientists start emerging more towards the arts part of it, try to understand the business domain, the actual applications, or taking out insights and the business actions out of those models, how am I going to utilize it, going deep into the data and understand the data much better, and making their hands dirty in the data, I think all of a sudden you will suddenly find that what am I doing, because that question is very soon emerging. And even if you look at the self speech of AutoML tools, they say that you no more require very high skilled data scientist. You get this tool and you just require 2 to 3 people to run it, and all your models are there. So if that is the thing going, then this is the best time that we start thinking how we are going to utilize the data science in far better, the actual judgment where human take judgment on top of machines, right? So I think, that is the place for the all budding people. I suggest they should focus understanding business, understanding the data far better before they jump into doing any kind of science or any kind of fantasy modeling on top of that. And the biggest important part is to be able to communicate the results in a business simple English, and then to be able to deploy that and take out the impacts out of it. So that's the few line summary. With that, I would give it back over to Prakash and Ariful. Please take forward the next session.
Thank you so much for the insightful, summary, and we will definitely continue with more sessions with you, because that 1 hour was a very, short session to know much nitty-gritties about what you do and what people can take from you. But definitely we will involve you again, and you are, as usual, you are always, reachable. So I will reach out to you soon, and then we will have another session. Thank you so much. So, so before we will start the session with Ariful Mandal. So I will give a quick introduction about him. So as of now, the community which we have built so far from scratch, from 1 member, 2 member to now almost 200 member in each group. So I know almost most of the people in some of us know, they know, people have referred us, and we know most of the people by I mean, we have met them or you have interacted them. But Ariful Mandal is the one whom I really follow for the last 2 years in LinkedIn. And suddenly in one day I thought that I should ask him that if he would love to join our community, I mean our WhatsApp groups. So without any hesitation, he has never asked that whether it is a what kind of group, what you are doing or something. And the way he is sharing related stuff in LinkedIn related to data science, so this is helping many people like me. So I found that as having someone like him in our podium, that will be really helpful. And he did not have any he had no hesitation to to accept our proposal, and he joined us. And so a huge round of thanks to you, Arifulda. Now, before I start the interview with him, so I will quickly introduce him. So Ariful Mandal is a data analytics leader with over 16 years of commercial experience in implementing scalable solutions across industries and geographies. Currently, he is leading the data analytics practice of CRISIL, which is an S&P global company. Past organization includes TCS, HSBC, Morgan Stanley, and there are many of that big names. He is also actively involved in various academic initiatives. We will talk more about that in our interview. We have prepared some questions on that. And he loves outdoor sports, baddy, playing cards, watching movies, and right now he is living in London with his family. So thanks, Arifullah, now for joining. Over to you.
No, glad. Thank you for inviting me. Firstly, in the groups, and I saw a lot of interaction. I've been also learning from the groups, right? A lot of sharings happening, right? Blogs. So one of the thing is that I can only follow what others are doing, so that I can learn. If you cannot learn everything from books or maybe by reading or doing, right? Following others is important. Really, thank you, and thank you for organizing this. I hope we'll have some fruitful discussion, right?
Sure.
So much.
Sure. So now we will stick to our timeline. So we really maintain the timeline which you have permitted. So before we, because there are many questions, so I'm sure we have only 45 minutes left.
Cannot hear you, Prakash. Cannot hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, now you're audible.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I think there was some noise. So yeah, so thanks, Harifullah. So what I was saying is, we have only 45 minutes left now, and we don't want to miss the chance to hear from you more. So before any kind of other dilemma, I will quickly start with the first question. So we have floated among all our groups, and we have collated all the questions from the LinkedIn, from the WhatsApp, and from other colleagues also. So out of all those questions, we have just highlighted some 10, 12 questions. So the first question is, just tell me about your journey so far. This is very, very important for us because, this will give us a good picture about who you are and what you are doing and how you have reached to what you are, where you are right now. So we'd love to know more about that. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think that's very important, right? So just to introduce, so I am from West Bengal, right, which is eastern part of India. If you know the place called a place called Naigachi, it's 50 kilometers away from Kolkata, right? So I've done all my studies like till +2 there, right? In the schooling and science and etc. My father thought I'll not study maths because I used to cricket, football too much. So he said you take additional as commerce bookkeeping. So I know accounting. That's why, because he was from commerce, right? So then later on I thought, okay, I started studying physics and chemistry. I was so much love with them, right? Physics, chemistry, and I forgot to study biology or mathematics. So I could not be a like engineer or doctor because you have to pass JEE with mathematics or biology, right? So I wanted to study more of a physics or chemistry in the future, but I end up with studying statistics. So it's not my kind of choice, but one of my professors said in the freshers welcome that either you came here by mistake or you did a mistake by coming here, right? Studying the subject. But I think today I realized though we did not do mistake, but yeah, something that still we can relish. So I did my honors in statistics from Kolkata University. That's in also West Bengal. Uh, then I started my kind of MSc in Applied Statistics Informatics from IIT Bombay, right? Which is, I think, modern days data science. Those days, that is the only industrial course that used to have, right? So it's combination of statistics, industrial mathematics, lots of programming, right? I think uh, I've learned C, C++, Fortran, Unix, Java, HTML, Perl, Shell, Haskell, right? There are many other languages that our teacher used to try to teach us. I said they used to make us more like sophisticated engineer, or some other teachers used to try us to be like more statistician. So we are in between, right? So ultimately we thought, okay, no, there was SAS is very popular, so we learned SAS, and I think that will give us job analytics. I think only 100 200 people used to do statistics masters all over India those days, right? So then that's how the journey started, right? And then I got campus job with a company called MarketerX, which is now owned by CTS Cognizant, right? They're predominantly into pharmaceutical market research and analytics. So more of a understanding the clinical trial, I think phase 3, phase 4, understanding how the effects of the drugs in human body or any side effects or anything. So kind of analyzing those kind of data. So we used to work with doctor panels, right? Paid panels by top 10 pharma companies globally. But then suddenly I realized I want to do a lot of open source stuff. I was more a Unix guy, like uh, than Windows, right? So just to work on Unix scripting, I left analytics, kind of analytics, but yeah, I joined another startup which they are predominantly working on HR analytics. But my objective to work in Unix because they used to use Fedora. And like I used to do shell scripting. So I joined a company called Global Analytics. I think the name is now Gain Credit or something, right? Based out of Chennai. So that's how I started more of a kind of predictive modeling analytics journey. There I used to work on HR analytics, risk analytics, collection analytics, retail analytics. We startup used to do everything, right? And they used to work on R as well, right? So I was the one I said, no, I want to work on SAS. So they procure SAS for me, and they used to work heavily on R and Java. So I said, I have done Java for 2 years. I don't like Java anymore, right? Because too much programming. So wish I could like still working R there, because now I see R is very popular. So, but I knew R, but I could not work on R. Then I started working there, and then suddenly the banking analytics actually booming in India. The Morgan Stanley coming in, Lehman Brothers, Deutsche Bank, all are coming in India, setting up their functions. Citibank already an advanced level, right? So I got opportunity to work with Morgan Stanley the first time there in economic research, risk analytics, fixed income research, right? With security market, mortgage-backed securities, asset-backed securities. Then I used to meet my friends in Kolkata whenever I visit to Kolkata in HSBC. So HSBC was actually growing there, and then and the evening, then my friend said, okay, before you leave, can you give one interview? So it's just like that, right? So I've not applied even with HSBC. So I just given the interview, I got chance. So I said it's close to my home. So went back to Kolkata, moving from investment banking to retail banking. Otherwise, maybe life would have been different. But yeah, so I spent close to 6 years in Kolkata. Close to my family, lots of friends, doing mostly risk analytics, marketing, collection analytics, right? And after that, I work with Tata Consultancy Services and different capacity, managing R&D of predictive analytics, big data analytics, practice in India, North America. Then I realized, okay, I need to build talent. So I came back to India from US, and then set up Data Science Academy. I designed lots of data science program in close collaboration with Indian Statistical Institute, CMI, IITs, right? So for internal talent development and external talent development, then we launched some programs, big data analytics, retail analytics with various colleges, various universities. So I've been working on that, right? So uh, more on the academic kind of thing. So with my analytics journey, I used to like teaching people, right? So I've been teaching people since my class 12, right? My friends or maybe juniors. So I like that, right? So that's one of the things which is very close to my heart, right? Still I'm teaching or maybe tutoring or mentoring whenever I get time. So from TCS, I joined CRISIL a year back. Uh, more again capital market analytics, financial research, integrity research, then hedge funds, wealth management, right, or different kind of analytics, data analytics. I'd not say only analytics; it's a data analytics, right? All through, I've been working in data and analytics and information management. You may call it data science, you may call it knowledge management, information management, data science. All these names are like changing, right? So when I started, it used to be cloud computing, then it's big data, then again data science. So whatever call it, but Ethan, I'm in this industry for almost like over 16 years. I like automation, though I've been working that, I think Ujjain is saying, right? So I was a very lazy person, or I used to save time, right? So I started automating a lot of stuff, whatever program, whether it's in VBA, whether it's in Unix scripting or Bash scripting or Windows DOS scripting, right? So I used to love the scripting, right? Because you can automate stuff and then you can do something else, right? So automation is very important, and nowadays people are moving towards automation. So these are something that I've been doing, right? I've worked with many like financial organization as well as non-financial organization, just to name, right? Kind of chemical manufacturing industry, or maybe semiconductors, or maybe high tech like Microsoft. I work with Microsoft many times, and then I also work with some automobile company, predictive maintenance stuff, right? So I like whatever I have done, right? But I think what I like most is being connected with people. So that's why you know that I do a lot of interaction with people, and whoever I worked with is still there connected in whatever means. Yeah, you can see right now in London. I know what I'll do next, but yeah. So whatever I've been doing, but one thing I'm continuously doing is learning new things, or maybe keep myself up to date, whatever possible. You cannot learn everything, and whatever I can share with community, whatever I can share with people, right? So that's the thing that I'm doing, right? I also on and off work with London School of Economics for data analysis for management program, kind of tutoring management. So as this at this point of time, so this is how the journey seems like. What I would like to do probably in the future, still not sure. There are a lot of ideas, right? Uh, but I'm sure that I'll do something good for society, community, and that's the thing that I look for. Let's see.
It seems like you have already predicted that what all are our next questions, and you have already touched, I think, some three or four, and possibly it's a hard times for me that to if which question I should ask you now. But
Sure.
yes, there are some great takeaways which I can definitely take. That coming from a very small city, doing every bit of things which is there in your reach, and then excelling and going into going into the next level. Then like you have done your initial days of schooling in a not a very metro city kind of thing, but then from there you have moved to a maybe tier 2 tier 3 city, then from there IIT Bombay, from there some other company which is not that popular but they are doing good work, then some popular company, then some leading position, initially some hands-on work, and then sort of ideation that if you can contribute something new, and then becoming the champion. So it's a very great roadmap for any one of us. It's a very inspiring one also, because often what we feel that we are too much into technical things, so we forget that or we sometimes seems like is it something which I am going to do forever. And that is where knowing someone like you, it helps, and it helps in the long run. So thanks a lot for that. So now coming to the second question. So this question, I think you have touched a bit, but the person who have asked this question, I mean, who have posted this question for you, I cannot ignore this question, so I need to, possibly it's a repetition, but I may need to ask you. So I was just reading out what he has written. The question is very, very interesting. The question is, what were you doing 5 years back? What you are doing now? And what do you think you will be doing 5 years down the line? So this will certainly give a roadmap to future aspirants who follow you and who finds you as a role model. So maybe you have touched on about your early life, your academic journey and those things. But from a career perspective, or from a your what do you aspire to do from that perspective, what you are thinking 5 years before now and after 5 years from now? So now over to you.
Yeah, so okay, so 5 years back, definitely I was working with Tata Consultancy Services, working two things. One is developing large scale data science talent, right? If you see, TCS has, I think, 8,000 people working in data analytics now. I've set up academies. I worked with HR, L&D team very closely, then my business, to kind of launch analytics courses, right? So, and then I used to develop. So I was always been hands-on. Okay, whatever I've been doing, I like hands-on, working something, trying something. Even there is no client project, so keep trying something, because I can't remember everything if I do not practice. I think last 1 year I'm not doing a lot of hands-on, but I think just before 1 year also I've been implementing solution at scale, right? Or writing codes, writing things, right? So if you see, like the 5 years back, I was working and playing football, right? So you have to balance between your stress and like work stress and other things, right? So I have a association called Crazy Soccerers, which is mostly people play from with different companies, right? At least now in Kolkata, some of my friends they're carrying the legacy, but I used to call people, used to carry waters, everything for them so that they can join. So more of a team game, right? A stress buster, right? Some stuff, right? Uh, and you actually do kind of networking interaction there as well, right? So and with Tata, as I mentioned, right, I work in different industry. It's banking, non-banking, given me a lot of opportunity to explore stuff, right? And I have taken each and every opportunity, like everything that came in my way as like opportunities, and try to learn or capitalize on it, right, if possible. I'm equally good to work with senior leadership as well as very junior, right, with freshers. So that's, I think I still connect. No ego, no hard feelings, right? We do a lot of discussion, heated discussion, right? But we never take it personally. I think that's the thing I practice, right? So I think in the 5 years down the line, I'll do the same. I've seen like a lot of managers and leaders, they don't like the arguments and etc. And then people leave, right? So what I'm saying is the work is like you can learn tools, techniques, but I think you have to learn how to connect people, how to connect business, how to learn the business part of it. So when people are learning technical stuff, I probably try to learn about the business, whatever business I'm supporting, right? And as Jen said that you can do no coding, auto ML, and etc. But you need to learn the business part of it, which is very important, which I do. I think at the time I've started working on analytics, I've been working in that, and I'll work towards that. 5 years down the line, as I mentioned, right, probably we'll do something sustainability, AI, or maybe teaching in academy. Or maybe I'll have my own company, or probably CDO, I don't know, right? These are different career options, or probably only parenting, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. So great, great. So good to know. So you have touched upon one important part, that managing, the stakeholders. I mean, like if you have some subordinates, then how you will manage them, or sometimes you heated arguments. So on that front, I have one question. That what do you think? What are the key aspects of managing a team in analytics? Because it's a very high performing team. It's not like a ops kind of a role. I mean, every team is having their own sort of positives and negatives, but analytics being a very high performing skill sets and team. So what do you think? What are the key aspects of managing a team, and how to keep the motivation high, and how to mentor the newcomers in this case? Yeah.
Okay, I think very, very important question, and it's very difficult to motivate the new generation, right? So, and because of, I think, the new tools, technology, they would have mobile technologies and etc. Right? So, what you have to do is really focus on what you want to do, right? It's the junior, whoever coming into this industry or whatever industry, right? So if you say like the operations could be more stressful, maybe 24/7, doing the same thing, thankless job, right? If you think about IT operations and etc., right? In our case, probably it is important to be less stressful because you have to think, maybe probably lots of think about doctors, right? So how you manage stress, right? So I think that's important. And do not discriminate good, bad, ugly type of work. I think the work coming in your way, take that as a like opportunity and excel, right? Whether it is data management, whether writing small codes or either predictive model, or whether machine learning, artificial intelligence, all right, it's work, right? And I think what is best motivation, normally we work for company, we do not do charity, right? We paid for it. So you have, everyone has responsibility to deliver, right, some outcome, and then you have certain expectation, right? Some met in that organization, maybe some will be met in next organization, right? So we have to really think about how you want to take it, right? But I think 2-3 years in the beginning, right? That was the good learning where you can explore more things, right? But later on, you will be also bounded by a lot of other activities, right? So first 2-3 years of career, you can think of whether you want to go for further studies, you want to do something in this within company, or you want to choose another company, you want to do something, talk to friends, talk to communities, mentors, right? So do not expect too much from the company that you are working, right? You expect that they are paying for you. I think the current situation is also like that, right? So, and you say if you are making justice to what they are paying you, right? Do not compare what your buddy is getting. Maybe that's another challenge. The lack of motivation coming from comparing the salary between two friends in the company or maybe colleagues or the promotions. I think this is not important, right? I think important is if whether you are enjoying your work. I think try to enjoy whatever you are getting and see how you can innovate. Even it is like writing piece of code or it is doing something great, right? And you have to motivate yourself a lot of time now. And given that next 1 year, probably people will be working from home, you will not see faces also, right? So self motivation will be important. If you are playing computer games, move away from that and play team games, right? Whatever sports it is, I think that's very important. Uh, that's all I can say, but I would say that you have to learn, right? If you are not happy, you look for something else, but do not blame someone else that he's not providing something to you. You have to earn it. You have to find a way. Okay,
Great,
this
great.
makes sense.
Thanks so much. So there are some more questions also, but I think I should hand over to Guru because he also has worked really hard to form few questions for you. So over to you, Guru. So if you can ask your bit of questions, yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Prakash. So first of all, thanks a lot, Arif. I mean, the initial half an hour itself has been a lot of learning, and the way you're giving your straight talk also is quite useful, especially when you say that you have to be respectful to the company that they're paying you for the job that they're doing. So now coming to towards a little bit more of the towards the technical side, what are some key learnings that you can share with us on developing solutions and deploying solutions in the data science field? For example, stuff like suppose a problem statement comes to you, it can probably be tackled by a visualization solution or probably a predictive solution. And even then there you might have to go with a black box model or a more traditional statistical model. So, some thoughts on that from you would be quite helpful.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part, I think, in our learning, right? So we may be able to develop something which is excellent, but not able to deploy because of so and so reason, right? So how we approach the problem is in two ways. One is see what is the objective, right? What is the implication of the solution that you can implement, right? Nowadays, regulatory requirements also, especially in pharma, finance, right, and digital, right? So there are regulations also coming in. So you have to think about whatever you develop, whether that can be implemented and can generate value, right? Definitely there are platforms that are different. So first you have to do that gap analysis, not instead of just jumping onto that writing regression or neural network or whatever solution. So how we approach is first we call due diligence, we call gap analysis, right? So as much as information you can collect, I think the role which is important, lot of important role is business analyst in this industry. IT is in IT industry it was very important, but I think data science also it's very important, right? So business analyst work with business analyst, right? Define the roadmap of the problem, how you're going to develop, how you're going to implement, how you're going to improve, right? You cannot develop a 100% accurate solution at the day one. So how you can continuously improve that, right? So you create from as is state to be state, I think that's fast you do, right? And to do to be state what all you need, what are the bottlenecks, whether that can be solved, what part can be done, right? So that's the way you should approach, right? So take an example, right? I develop very good machine learning model using Python because I know Python, but my organization, they don't allow open source, right? What's the benefit? Right?
Yeah, good example, yeah.
Yeah, so it will not work, right? And then if you work like neural network model for a regulatory requirement, and you cannot explain. That's why the explainability part of uh, AI is coming, right? So if you're not able to explain, it's not going to work. So you see the situation where you want to use what, rather than just say, okay, this is the best model I can use. Even the best model you may not be able to implement. So your end objective is to whether it can be implemented and improved, right? Okay, so it can be then you solve with a statistical algorithm or mathematics algorithm, right? If that can be explainable. I hope that makes sense.
Great. I mean, that was a great answer. It touched a lot of points I was looking for. And you're right. So I am in the regulatory industry, and I'm facing issues like these, and it's actually quite difficult to tell the business, that is the farmer, the business, that if it is a critical aspect and they want 100% accuracy, right? It's actually quite difficult to tell them that it's not possible to achieve 100%. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Another point, a related point that I wanted to know from you was, data science is a relatively new field. So have you felt that now that more and more industries are actually considering data science as priority, or it is just kind of a supportive function? So what is your take? You have had great exposure across Indian and international businesses. Yeah.
Right. I think I don't think, rather I feel, right, how it is happening is it's evolved, right? For the time we started, I think 16 years back, we have to literally push people use analytics, right? You have to create use cases and you have to prove the value that you can generate something. Right? Except banking, retail and pharma, healthcare, there's very few companies other industry they used to use analytics, right? Other government organization heavily used, right? Public industry, right? So now if you think that without data analytics, nobody talking, right? So wherever you go, it's talking, okay, we do data science, machine learning, AI in a form, right? In different forms, but actually they're talking, okay, something or others they are doing, either digitization, RPA, whatever you do, it require data, whether it's rule-based or whether it is machine learning based. So I think it's now kind of bread and butter, right? And in the organization, senior stakeholder, if they do 3-4 use cases of data analytics, they become very famous in the organization. So they're pushing for it rather than we push for it. Right? So you can see this mindset has changed, right? So if you look at it in that way, so it's not a support function, but it's like giving comfort, right? So data-driven decision making is more important than judgmental kind of expert system or judgmental decision making, right? So if you say that data-driven decision making, everybody relying on it, right? Somewhere 70-80% cases now it's kind of adopted from 30 to 40%, if I have to put it in that way.
Great. Thanks a lot for that, Arif. I'll come to my next question. This is again more towards the people side. So, analytics is quite hot, like you said, and a lot of people from different backgrounds are trying to get in. A good example is myself. I'm coming from the medicine side, but there are other folks also. So, you would have obviously come across a lot of different folks with different educational backgrounds. So, can you share some insights? For example, it might be what are their differences or where they fit in for the industry. Some insights on that would be quite useful.
Yeah. No. So data science, if you see the definition is like anything related to data and whatever you can do with that, right? Nobody is telling you that you should come from this background or that background. So what is important is if you are curious to know something using data, right? Facts, rather facts, right? So if you go to uh, like buy or purchase something, right? You always collect data and analyze, okay, which is best fit for you, right? Whether in terms of monetary or in terms of comfort or in terms of accessibility, right? So I think everybody using some way the data and analytics, right? And data giving them some confidence, right? So so if you want to do data science, very importantly, right, you need to actually understand what you want to do. That's why I said in the previous cases, right, you need to understand what you want to do, right? What kind of decision you want to make, right? So first you have to formulate your problem, business problem. So if you are able to formulate the business problem, whatever background you are, I think your 60 to 70% data science job is done, and then only you collect, write data, analysis, and make analysis, and then you implement. So those are more technical stuff, right? So in entire journey, you need different kind of people. You need people who can formulate the problem, who can manage the data science project, right? Who can implement, right? So not one person can do. I think some company they look for unicorns, especially some of the startups, and you cannot be unicorn, right? You have 60% of something, 40% you learn on practice and you do, right? So so it is important that if you want to do data science or any field, you may say, right, you are a doctor. So if you have to read, you have to practice, you have to learn, you have to get help. Don't be shy to ask question to others, get help, right? But of course, commercially, you have to know programming or maybe some tool, because that's a commercial requirement. But if you want to do on your own, like you do IBM Watson or Azure ML or some Auto ML tool, you don't have to learn that. You can just drag and drop and do it. That's also fine. And then Google also launched like the no code application development. So that's the way to look at like software development. People, if they can learn some kind of statistical analysis or machine learning, that's good also. So what is important for leaders also to be open-minded and accept people from diverse background. I think that's important than people who wish to do data science, because you can learn a lot of stuff, right? If you think about example of your US market or other market, people coming from army, they are doing some certificate and become data science specialist. Absolutely acceptable, right? But think about market in India, it's not acceptable. But if you can open something on your own, it's fine. And then tomorrow you can be a leader, right? It's a business leader or data analytics, it's fine. I think
Great.
this is the way you should think, right? Be open and
Yeah. So just to summarize that, you even feel that the industry also, it would be beneficial for the industry also to have such folks from different backgrounds.
absolutely. So,
Yeah.
for example, I was trying to solve some problem for railways, right? So how much information do I have about railways, right? I don't have anything. So I have to work with this domain guy to understand how the rail track functions, right? When we have actually used trains so many times, but do we really think how it functions, how they manage, operate, right? So you need the domain guy, right? If I have to work in, like my first manager is also B Farm, M Farm, right? So I used to work with him to learn all these pharma terminologies. So it's very important. So my analytics manager, who is actually pharma guy, so he's not from analytics, right? So it's very important.
Great. Thanks for that, Arif. So now I briefly, give it back to Prakash. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Guru. They are very important points. So I can now very well understand that why Ariful at the very beginning you have said that possibly 5 years down the line you will become a teacher, because if you are working with such cross-functional teams, it's very important. Like in the railway case, the railway guy has to teach you the railway part of the work, and you have to teach the statistics part of the work. So that way, teaching and this kind of collaboration is very important. And that way, if business leaders like you, if they come into this novel profession, I think this will be really, really helpful. So anyway, so we just want to know more about you. We have just researched a bit about what you do and all, and so we have framed one question. And we have heard that you were associated with lots of educational institutions for the curriculum development for analytics. So, like you said, the ISI and the other institutes name. So, what do you think? How the data science landscape is going to be in India and globally in future? I think you are the very right person to answer this because you have worked in India also. You are associated with many of the leading Indian institutes who have a very good name globally. And now you are, residing in London and you can see the larger picture and you can definitely connect the dots. So something on this note will be really helpful for us and the audience. Yeah.
Okay. So how to put it, right? So again, basically,
want to know that right now we have seen lots of certifications. There are certain.
That's why I've come to put it. Is actually open up opportunities for people to capitalize on that, right? That's another profession, right? It's okay that if they can earn by sharing their learning contents and etc. Absolutely fine. Then hundreds of thousands of dollars you are paying to Ivy League or international institutes, right? Not everybody can do that. And that's why the Coursera, edX, Udemy, all these are started, right? They're trying to also educate, right, people for free as well as giving certification. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, right, the value of the certification depends on in which organization you are, which country you are, which industry you are. Like, so when I worked with Tata Consultancy Services or maybe in my current organization, I try to combine the MOOCs available and faculty, internal SMEs, or maybe campus faculties, right, together. But because if you are going to train everyone in a classroom, right, then you are actually taking everyone's time, right, and probably everyone in billable role or whatever, right? So this is absolutely fine, right? But it's required a combination of program, certification, whatever. But as I mentioned, like the company, like maybe TCS like company, they encourage people to do online certification. They like it, right? Which in my experience, I'm sure other companies will do, right? HSBC. But other example I'll give you, like Morgan Stanley. When we used to work, one of my colleagues said, I need training on R. I told her, okay, you just do Google and learn, or let me know, I can help you, because I used to know the S plus or the R version or like previous version of that, right? So but no, she said, no, I need a training. It's a LSE graduate. So, but then boss said, okay, you are smart. That's why you are here. You first try to learn yourself. If you fail, then I'll arrange some training. So that's the way the conversion used to happen those days, right? But nowadays, I think people encourage training development, because that's another KPI for the companies also. How many learning hours you have, right? How many talent you developed, right? All these are part of the organization performance metric, right? They are publishing their annual reports also, some organization. So by doing certification will not help, but you have to practice. You have to practice. There are lots of platforms like Kaggle, Hackathon, a lot of hackathons happening, right? On like, or maybe the different forums happening, right? So the one thing would be important, how you market. Even at this time, we also have to learn how we market, because when you be more senior, the positions are much more lesser, right? More competitive, right? So there is another way to kind of present yourself, right? You have to learn how to market yourself, sell yourself, right? I think whoever learning all this, they have to learn this soft skill, marketing skills, internal, external selling. That's the important part. You have to put in that way. And then if you think you can do degree, lot of degrees available in India. even the collaborating with international institute, right? In within 4 or 5 lakhs, you are getting international master's degree as well in data science analytics, right? With top institutes like IITs are doing, IIITs are doing, IIMs are doing, right? Even the small organizations are doing. So it's okay. But do not spend money just for you think that data analytics is a like 6 years job, like someone said in this. Do not spend money. If you do not like, don't come to in this profession. Okay, there are a lot of other things you can do and you would be successful. So not everybody doing, and then you want to do like computer science when came in, everybody wanted to do computer science, and then suddenly there was kind of I think late 90s, right? There was a challenge, right? So this is like IT market. Right? So then nobody wanted to study computer science, right? Now everybody want to study civil because the construction industry is booming, right?
Right.
So really think about in that way, right?
Correct. We have a hard stop at 5:10. I think there are some 6 or 7 planned questions. But in this Sunday, afternoon, people are spending their time. So I need to, respect the people who are there in the, audience. So Preeti, who is right now working in JP Morgan, I know her, and she is very consistently, follow the data science community, and also she manages a bit of that. So one question which she has put, that with heavy usage of cloud for analytics, even in banking and finance, what is your thought on the security aspect? So if you can touch upon 2 points. Yeah.
Yeah. So great question. I think one of the favorite subject that I'm starting right now, it's privacy, preserved analytics and differential privacy, right? And data security also close to that, not the entire thing, but data security, information security is very important part, right? If I have to tell you that when I used to work with HSBC, I was also a kind of deputy BIRO. It's business information risk officers. So side by side, I was helping internal auditing, creating access metrics, folder metrics, data access metrics, because like all these things that I used to do for the analytics for entire analytics team of India. So it's very important, right? But in this world, it's very difficult to manage all the security because there are so many platforms, so many tools, right? And then cloud companies are investing a lot of their security in there. So one of their selling point is that we manage like 12-fold securities, 15-fold securities. They're putting all of these, right? So they are managing that, right? If there is like any kind of information which is personal information, like the Europe of the world, like GDPR, right? And maybe healthcare, there is a called HIPAA or something. There's are regulations also there where you cannot access or share individual data. But then privacy preserve analytics is becoming very popular, right? Google, Uber, Microsoft, they invested heavily in the digital platform, how they collect the user journey, aggregate and recommend. I think that's the way bank is also adopting. The few companies already working on that. If you see, if you are really keen, you can find like differential privacy preserve analytics. There are lots of material available on YouTube, on link. As well as they are taking extra measures. They have a information security team, information security officers. They're closely working, monitoring all the risk. Pharma, definitely Guru would be able to share a lot of things happening in this industry. So pharma was the most secured earlier, like oil and gas, pharma, and now banking is actually going in that way. It would be difficult because you cannot share data, but summarized data everybody can use, like in the digital world you are using. Siri, you are using, Apple is collecting your data in that way, right? And Google, etc. So it will be everything in the same way. They have already those tools. Yeah.
Correct. So thanks, Preeti, and thanks, Ariful, for the answer. Thanks, Preeti, for posting this question because we have missed this part, and I think this is very important. So now the next question, I need to ask you, but with your due permission, because there is a disclaimer that is a very controversial question. So I'm just reading it out. We know data transparency, reduce data veracity. So do you think that should be applied to data science salary too? With the same skill sets and same experience, I have seen two people at totally different pay scale. It's just because how they started and how they switched organizations. So as a part of HR analytics, should we ask organizations to publish people compensations to build trust? I think very, very relevant, and I think you should answer it honestly. So we just want to
No,
hear from you more.
see, absolutely. I think I agree with her, and I've seen that as well, right? So whatever in my purview, I try not to do discriminate in that. I think it happens with a lot of startups, a lot of next gen company. They want to get you guys paying very high salary. It's happening. Large organization also, because people are probably coming from different diverse background. They started in 2 points, right? So in the organization, even if they have similar experience, uh, we are not so controlled like other market where the pay scale are defined, right? You have to pay minimum this salary, that salary, and all this, right? So India, like countries, it's a lot of disparity. If you go even in government organizations, okay. So I think that will be there for many years. We cannot really solve, but as a HR organization, I think we can all ask together to the all HR organization. They should think about it. I worked with my second company where I work on this kind of thing, right? The HR analytics for one of the HR management company for large organization. They want to find out sweet spot where their key performer, top performer, try to retain what kind of benefits they can give. I think that practice everybody do, right? They focus on 30 to 40% people here. They really think I need to retain, I need to work with them. They take care of them. Maybe another 70% kind of it's like people at par. If you see the bell curve concept was there also, where the performance and all this, right? Nowadays it's not there. So salary is one thing always controversial. So, but it is good. It should be something that HR organization should think, leadership should think, right? For us as a data science leaders and etc., probably we do not decide the salary for the organization, but we give inputs. So definitely we should give inputs wherever we can, right? In our organization, we should. I give inputs to my organization, right? And they accept, right? So similarly, we should do that. We should not really discriminate too much, but of course there would be some based on performance, based on grade, based on experience, based for critical role. Somebody, see, for example, in one team, 5 people working, they're all good, right? But one team, one person working, if the one person leaving, it's too much impact, right? The 5%, one person leaving, you can actually replace, and then 4%. So there are a lot of metric that we need to look at. It's very complex. If I have to say.
So you are right. Dependency is a very key metric also, because there are some certain functions where people are, the organizations are very dependent on a specific resources. So maybe that way salaries can be considered that way. So yeah, so good that you have touched upon those parts, and we should always discuss about this business. This is also more important. So we are, this is our bad that we are possibly not able to manage the questions and the timing well. But good for all your inputs and answers. But I will just ask Guru to ask a question on the ROI part, because that is very crucial. So before concluding the session, I will hand it over to Guru now for this bit of question. Yeah, Guru, over to you.
Sure.
So, Arif, there are a lot of scenarios where it requires a lot of communication and stakeholder alignment, in the sense that you have to convince them on the solution that you're trying to build or propose. How do you convince them with regards to ROI, that the expense that is incurred when you're developing a data science solution, can it be justified? There's a key issue, and I face it all the time. Could you share some insights on how you deal with it? Some pointers for the entire audience.
Okay, so I will go back maybe 8-9 years back, right? When we were mostly working in the banking industry, so accuracy is not the measure that we used to look at of the model, right? So what I used to look at is, for example, I want to acquire credit card customer or loan customer. So what I look at is other KPIs, right? Whether I'm able to increase the approval rate, whether I'm able to decrease the credit losses, right? So one concept that we used to, not concept, I think rather practice that people do, it's called profitability analysis, right? So whenever you do analytics, you have to do profitability analysis, right? So that's how you can think of the A/B testing we call, champion challenger we call, test control we call, right? So where we actually do that analysis, right? We implemented certain part of the strategy in the test, right? And compare whether it is increasing kind of benefit in terms of cost savings, in terms of profitability, in terms of loss savings, or maybe efficiencies. So that's how we have to get approval for each and every strategy that you used to build, right? So it's not just, okay, it's a 90% accuracy of the model. It never worked for us, right? Then certain manager changes, managers, then they're looking for, okay, I want all the statistical hypotheses and confidence and etc. Once you develop these, whether how much confident you are that your model is 90% accurate every time, right? So it is 60% confidence or 80% confidence. So you have to do all these analysis. You have to show that if your boss is more statistical or something, which I actually did last year as well with one of wine and spirit manufacturing company when I was implementing some models. I have to validate through all the statistical thing, right? Whether it's following normal distribution and etc. So it depends which organization look for what kind of ROI, right? But of course, anything if they are investing, they look for a return on investment. Otherwise, while they will do it, right? It's not just sake of doing innovating something, because it's entirely commercial if you're not in R&D or academics, right? So you have to really innovate. What are the metric that you can show on top of your accuracy, precision, etc., which is the standard metric, right? You have to really do that. Okay.
So just to summarize that, there again, the knowledge of the domain is quite relevant, because then only we'll be able to come up with the metrics that are relevant and which you can convince the domain. And then, as you said, if your manager is you obviously from a more technical setup, you need to convince him accordingly.
Yes.
That was quite an insightful answer. Yeah.
Modify your communication accordingly. You have to prepare that. So communication is very important, but you have to really think what sells. Right. So
Yeah.
that's the way you can look at it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Arif. Back to you, Prakash.
Thanks, Guru. So Ariful, that it's a very knowledge, full of session, and we just have a hard stop now, and I will just hand it over to Senjoti and Natasha. But it's really great to meet people like you, and possibly in future if we can do some sort of offline meetups, and if you are in country, then possibly we'll love to hear from you face to face. But looking forward, learning more from you. Please own the groups, all the groups you are added, and please own it, and just suggest us what else we can do. And it's a community development portal where very great people like us, I mean, like all of us actually. So there are many people who are actually actively working on this. I cannot name all because I may miss few of them, but everyone is working to have an united community into data science, and where we help each other in their job finding, their solution development, and other things. So thanks a lot, sir. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think I also enjoyed. I was not prepared for all the answers, but I could have prepared. So, but I think these are the things which I felt I have been practicing, and hope this would be useful. But there are different opinions, different leaders. They look at things differently. As I worked in multiple organizations, multiple things, I think this something worked for me, and I think it will work for 60-70% of the people. Of course, but my message to all the newcomers is be open-minded, right? don't think that I have to build predictive models or some high-end reinforcement learning, AutoML or something, right? You can even be a machine learning engineer or data engineer, right? Or automation engineer, or you can be the deployment part of it, monitoring of it, right? So whatever it is, you see in the analytics journey, wherever you fit, you walk there, and then you learn other things, you switch, right? Explore. And nowadays everybody has computer. Nobody is stopping you to learn. In our time, we did not have laptops and phones and etc. So we have to rely on office or academics lab, right? So nothing much we could do. But nowadays you have all your own system. You can subscribe to cloud, all free, 12 months, right? So explore, learn, reach out to seniors in your class or in your academics or maybe colleagues, right? And message to seniors, help others, right? So there's a lot of ego. I know this thing, I know that thing. I think just leave that outside and maybe help the community. And you guys are doing fantastic job. Thank you so much. Happy to be part of this, and we'll see whatever I can add value, I'll do. Okay.
Surely, Arifulda. Thanks a lot. We will again get in touch. So now I will now quickly hand it over to Natasha and Sanjuti for the conclusory statement for the community. Yeah, over to you, both of you.
Thank you so much, Ariful sir, for your time on a Sunday. It has been a great opportunity for us to have you. I can bet like most of us, like most of the freshers in this field already started thinking like how to proceed, which part we should improve and how to go ahead. So, sir, thank you for the tips and suggestions. It was very helpful. So looking forward to have more similar session with you. Over to you, Natasha.
Thank you.
So I would like to inform everybody else in the meeting that we also have a data science community group on LinkedIn. The link has been shared on the chat, so all of you are welcome to join it. I would at the end again like to thank you, Ariful sir, Prakash sir, and Guru sir, and the data science community for arranging such an insightful session. Hoping to meet you all soon again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Take care and stay safe.
Yeah.
You too, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Probably stop recording.